I'd like to start by thanking Shireen for the kind introduction. I'd also like to thank the Global Ethical Finance Initiative and the Asian Institute for Chartered Bankers for the invitation to speak at this Ethical Finance ASEAN conference. My name is Candice Dott, and I head up our global market engagement for the Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosure, also known as the TNFD. I'm based in Johannesburg, South Africa. Today, I'll share a brief introduction to nature finance and the TNFD recommendations, as well as the tools that you can use to get started. What TNFD have developed is a way of understanding nature. Many in the room will have a common language and a common way of understanding climate, which is built from the Greenhouse Gas Protocol and integrated into the TCFD disclosure framework. What TNFD have done is to draw together leading thinking to help you understand nature and how it matters to business. One initial example to help you understand nature is through the 4 nature realms, which is basically a helpful way to show that nature has fundamentally different components across land, ocean, fresh water, and the atmosphere, which is where climate comes in, as well as air quality. And you can see the society aspect, us, at the center interacting and across all 4 realms. You'll also hear the word biodiversity used, and I want to remind you that biodiversity is the variability among living organisms across the 4 nature realms. This includes ecosystem diversity, species diversity, and gene diversity. We know that most companies, investors, and lenders today are aware of the extent of biodiversity loss in general, but are really struggling to understand their own impact and exposure to nature-related issues, what we refer to as dependencies, impacts, risks, and opportunities. And these businesses are inadequately accounting for nature in their strategies and their capital allocation decisions currently. The TNFD recommendations provide companies and financial institutions of all sizes with a risk management and disclosure framework to identify, assess, manage, and where appropriate, disclose nature-related issues. The TNFD has developed a set of 14 disclosure recommendations and guidance that encourage and enable business and finance to assess, report, and act on their nature-related dependencies, impacts, risks, and opportunities. Our aim is to shift the global financial flows away from nature-negative outcomes and towards nature-positive outcomes, aligned with the global biodiversity framework. The TNFD is a global, market-led, science-based, and government-supported initiative to help companies and financial institutions factor nature into their decision-making. We have 40 task force members from all over the world, many of whom represent real economy sectors who have major impacts and dependencies on nature, as well as financial institutions and market service providers like the Singapore Exchange. I would also like to emphasize that our work goes well beyond the task force itself. We have a TNFD forum, and any organization who is supportive of our mission can join the TNFD forum. And I really encourage you to do so by going to our website and joining the TNFD forum. We currently have over 1,500 members of the forum, and our forum allows you to stay in touch with what the task force is doing through knowledge sharing, capacity building, joining various webinars that we host, and regular newsletters. Plus, it also allows you to contribute to our further developments. We also have a number of regional consultation groups. We have one here in the ASEAN region, led by WBCSD. We also work with many data providers, because one of the common themes that often comes up is there actually data available to do all of this? As a result, we've been working with really innovative data providers to challenge them around what is possible now and also what is going to be needed to help make things more accessible and possible going forward. TNFD is a voluntary initiative, as I've said, market-led, and has developed a set of recommendations for the market from the market. We are not developing a standard and we are not developing regulations. But it is worth knowing that the TNFD has worked closely with the Global Reporting Initiative, the International Sustainability Standards Board, the ISSB, from the very outset, learning from what they've done, drawing from what they've done, and now they are drawing from the TNFD. We know that the ISSB's work on biodiversity and ecosystems will have a significant influence on the future development of disclosure requirements across Asia and globally. The TNFD welcomes the recent decision of the ISSB to commence work on nature-related issues, drawing on the recommendations of the TNFD. This is a critical next step in developing a global baseline for sustainability reporting following the release of the IFRS S1 and S2 sustainability reporting standards in 2023. This ISSB recent announcement is yet another important step forward for nature-related corporate reporting. I also want to highlight the recent updates of the GRI Biodiversity 101 standard, which is also drawn on the TNFD's recommendations. The further incorporation of nature-related issues into the global reporting baseline, drawing on the work of the TNFD, will provide investors, report preparers, with a more integrated approach across governance, strategy, risks management, metrics, and targets. It will also help to realize the achievement of the Target 15 of the Global Biodiversity Framework. A few takeaways from our technical team's recent trip earlier this month to Singapore, where Emily McKenzie and Tom Haggerty both attended and participated in various sessions during Ecospirity Week. They both came back sharing absolutely fantastic local examples of TNFD adoption framed around business models and value creation, rather than just compliance aspects of reporting. Emily and Tom both shared how much interest there was in TNFD during their trip, which further reaffirms the overall ASEAN region's momentum within sustainable finance and the overall support and interest from policymakers, business leaders, standard setters, companies, investors, banks, and civil society at large across the region, which we are seeing firsthand. Emily and Tom also got to interact with many TNFD early adopters, some of whom have already publicly shared their first TNFD reports. Some of those companies include SMBC, UOB, CDL, and the Norges Bank Investment Management Team, just to name a few. We now have over 370 organizations as of last month adopting TNFD from more than 45 countries, representing an excess of $15 trillion in assets under management. And we have already committed to start making disclosures. These companies have already committed to start making disclosures based on TNFD recommendations. This includes 25% of the world's systematically important banks. An increasing number of leading asset owners and asset managers are now also calling for TNFD-aligned disclosures through their stewardship guidelines and activities with investee companies. This has all been achieved only 6 months after the publication of the TNFD recommendations in September last year. While climate and biodiversity are directly connected, climate impacts are relatively easy to measure in terms of emission levels and temperature changes. But biodiversity is a great deal more complex, and I do not want to overwhelm you with much more detail. But if I can leave you with a short overview of TNFD, and if you only have time to read one document available on our website, I would strongly recommend you start with the Getting Started with TNFD guidance. Then you can move on to our LEAP approach, which stands for Locate, Evaluate, Assess, and Prepare, which is the process many organizations are using to help identify and assess their nature-related issues. The conference title, Scaling Up Sustainable Finance, aptly summarizes the tangible and growing focus we are seeing through our TNFD adoption and reporting trends. And I'd like to emphasize the strong uptake in TNFD adoption across Asia and the Pacific region, particularly seen through Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, Australia, China, Malaysia, and the Philippines and Thailand, as well as many other countries. But please do contact me for more information if I can help. I look forward to hearing from Nicole at Planet Tracker, and I personally enjoy seeing updates from the Planet Tracker team, who helpfully share their unique insights and investor toolkits, such as the recently launched Nature Scorecard dashboard, which draws on the 320 TNFD early adopter listed organizations as one of the set of voluntary inputs they use. I'm sure you're going to hear lots more impactful Asian market corporate updates. Thank you.